Hi boys and girls, I hope you had a great spring break. Today for your reading lesson, I'm going to read you Pecos Bill Invented the 10-Gallon Hat. This book is a tall tale, so it uses humor and exaggeration to really hype up the hero in the story or the main character. It can be based on a real person, but it doesn't have to be. So this one is Pecos Bill. And there are a lot of different other Pecos Bill books if you want to read one like that. And as I'm reading the story, I'm going to point out how this armadillo shows up on every page. And I want you to pay close attention to the armadillo, and I want you to think, how does that armadillo add to the story? Why did the author and the illustrator put that in the story? One day, Pecos Bill was working a herd next to the Rio Grande, and the sun was hot enough to fry bacon on a boulder. Looking around, he saw that it was nice and shady under the cottonwood trees by the river, so he rode over to cool off under one. It was comfortable there, but that wasn't where the cattle were. That's okay, thought Bill. If the cattle want to stay on the prairie, I got a mind to move the tree. So he's going to move the tree to where the cattle are. He tied his rattlesnake rope around the biggest cottonwood on the river and said, "Giddy up," to his horse. Now, no ordinary horse could move a tree like that, but Bill didn't have an ordinary horse. He had Lightning, a horse that packed more wallop than a prairie thunderstorm. The black stallion pulled and pulled, and the roots jumped right out of the ground, but the tree fell, thwomp, bearing 20 head of cattle in its branches and leaves. Look at the cattle. And I want you to see, can you spot the armadillo? I'll go back, I forgot to show you all on this page. Can you spot the armadillo on that page? And then the author also on this page uses giddy up and plop and thwomp. They're in red. And so the author wants to really point those out because those words are important. Pecos Bill had to spend the rest of that day digging those cows out. But Bill wasn't one to give up just after one try. Well, if I can't move the whole dang tree, maybe I can move the shady part, he thought. Oh, goodness. Now he's trying to move that whole tree. Look, that poor horse is having to carry that tree and Pecos Bill. Can you spot the armadillo? For a while, it worked fine. The trouble started when Bill got to town and tried to walk into a hotel. He opened the door and bam, fell right on his rear end. Bam is also in red. So the author is pointing out those onomatopoeia words and putting them in a different color. Can you spot the armadillo on this page? Pecos Bill got up and ran at the door again, but bam! He landed flat on his back. Then he realized why he didn't fit through the door. Look, he looks embarrassed. Can you find the armadillo on this page? But Pecos wasn't one to be flummoxed after just 2 tries. The next day he went walking through town. It was a Saturday, and when he got to the end of Main Street, he saw a group of men playing some sort of newfangled ball game. Now look at what they're wearing. And remember, he wants something that's going to keep him cool out in the hot sun. What do you think? Why do you think the baseball players are important? What do you think he's going to really look at on the next page? Right, and see if you can spot the armadillo. I'll get closer, it's harder on this page. But it wasn't the men's game that interested Pecos Bill. It was their caps. It looked as if those caps kept the sun off the players' faces. Bill bought a cap at the store, and the next day he wore it out on the prairie. The cap kept the sun off his face all right, but the sky still burned the back of his neck. Then when a thunderstorm came up, the rain soaked the cloth cap. So that still didn't work. I think he's going to try again. Where's the armadillo? Well, that didn't pan out, thought Pecos Bill. Not one to cash it in only after 3 tries. Pecos Bill went to town the next day looking for another hat. As he was walking down the main street, he heard a clanging bell. Bill dove out of the way as a horse-drawn fire wagon brushed past him. Okay, so he's not one to give up, so I think that's also teaching us a lesson about his character. Let's see if you can spot the armadillo. As he lay there in the dust, Bill could see smoke coming from the livery stable. Pecos Bill whistled up lightning and rode out of town lickety-split. He pulled out his rattlesnake rope, lassoed up a storm cloud, and dragged it back to town. He hog-tied the cloud and squeezed it so hard it gushed rain, dousing the flames. So remember, I said a tall tale is something that uses exaggeration and humor. So some of the humor came in when he had that tree on and he tried to walk in and kept falling down. And now the exaggeration. He can't really lasso a storm cloud. And he doesn't really have a rattlesnake rope. Oh, and let's see. Can we find the armadillo? I bet you're also noticing. I'm going to have to get close for this one. I'm also noticing another character that I kind of see pop up. See if you can spot it. Or another animal, not character. The volunteer firefighters were so happy that they made Pecos Bill an honorary member of the fire brigade and gave him his very own metal firefighter helmet. I reckon this might be just what I need, said Bill. I like the way he talks. I like the way he says reckon and lickety-split. That really adds to his character. I like that the author added that in the dialogue. Can you spot the armadillo? Look, I think he thinks this one's going to work. He's winking. He feels proud of himself. He might be kind of cocky. When the back brim of the helmet shaded while the back brim of his helmet shaded his neck, the metal got hotter and hotter in the sun. By noon, Pecos Bill took off the helmet and wrapped a wet bandana around his head. Not one to skedaddle, after only 4 tries, Pecos Bill sat on his bedroll that night, figuring about hats. The baseball cap only shaded my face, and it didn't keep me dry. The firefighter helmet shaded my neck, but it got too hot. Just then, Lightning bent down and pushed the 2 hats together. That gave Bill an idea. Wait a minute, what if I made a hat with a wide brim like a baseball cap to shade my neck, and a high crown like a firefighter helmet to shed the rain, and in a waterproof fabric so it wouldn't get too hot? On these pages, when the author is telling the story, it was in red. And when Pecos Bill was talking, it was in yellow. That helps the reader understand that the person talking has changed. The red was the narrator and Pecos Bill was the yellow. Can you spot the armadillo? Pecos Bill patted his stallion's neck. Lightning, you're a genius. So Lightning's like his sidekick. Now, most people know that Pecos Bill was the most famous cowboy in the world, but few people realize that he was also an expert tailor. So I'm going to look at this picture to figure out what tailor means. He's got a needle and a thread. So think about what you do with a needle and a thread. And then I see a spool of thread right here. and another spool right here. So a tailor is someone who can sew or make garments or make clothes. Lost my spot. Pecos Bill bought some beaver felt in town, and using his baseball cap and firefighter helmet as models, he sewed and pressed the very first 10-gallon hat. And so why would he want to use beaver felt? And felt is like the fur of the animal. Why would he want to use beaver? Think of what he's trying to accomplish. So the baseball cap didn't work because it got wet, and it didn't keep the sun off his neck. The firefighter helmet didn't work because it got too hot. So why is he using the beaver? He wants to keep water off. So beavers live in the water, and therefore allows the water just to roll off. So that way they don't get wet, because then that would hurt them, because they would be cold and they need the water just to roll off, and it would make them heavy when they were swimming. So he wants to use beaver felt to make the hat. See if you can spot the armadillo. After that, Pecos Bill would carry his own shade wherever he went, and when it rained, the water just rolled right off the crown and over the brim, leaving Pecos Bill's head nice and dry. What's more, it made a handy bowl. That's crazy. He's pouring water into the hat. And look at the armadillo. When other cowboys saw how useful Pecos Bill's invention was, they gave big yee-haw and ordered some of their own. Pretty soon, even the brand new greenhorn cowboys were wearing them. I'm telling you, that's the way it was, that's the way it is, and that's the end of the story. Okay, so the armadillo is very, very important in the story. The armadillo shows up on every page, and at the end is winking. Winking almost like it's got a secret. And remember, I want you to go back and think when I showed you this page, and how I said the red showed that someone else was talking, and the yellow was when Pecos Bill was talking. And then the same here. The green, someone else is telling the story, and then the purple, I wonder who is telling this story. The purple is when Pecos Bill is talking, but he's not telling me this story. I wonder who is telling this story. So I want you to think about that armadillo that's on every page. Think about who's telling me this story, and I want you to either type, write a comment, or create a video response on your Chromebook and add it to this assignment, and you tell me who is telling the story. I hope y'all enjoy this story. It's funny. It's one of my favorites, and I hate that I couldn't read it to you in person and do more with it. I love y'all, and I miss y'all so much. Have a good day.